Welcome to Brainish English Stories.
I remember Rupert K. Vanis because he was tall, handsome, and liked beautiful things. Rupert was from New York but loved Italy. People wondered about his background because of his name and looks. He had blue eyes, auburn hair, and a sharp nose, but his hair was turning gray, and his face sometimes looked tired. He dressed well and seemed wealthy, though he never talked about money. Everything around him felt calm and perfect. Rupert liked to enjoy life, and you could see it in what he ate, drank, wore, and the people he spent time with. One spring in Charleston, South Carolina, I watched Rupert and a young woman named Sabine Monroy. She was tall, slim, and very lively, with dark chestnut hair and bright eyes. She had a lot of energy and was fun to watch when she danced, rode horses, or played tennis. Everyone thought she was attractive, and Rupert clearly liked her. He spent time with her, followed her with his eyes, and seemed very interested in her. But I couldn't tell if he wanted to win her heart or was just enjoying her company. Miss Monroy was 26 and not married, which surprised people. But she loved life so much that she probably hadn't thought about marriage yet. At the same time, Rupert made me think about life. After the war, I wondered if people could ever stop being selfish and care about helping others. It seemed like the loud and aggressive always won, while the kind and gentle lost. Science seemed to take us backward instead of forward. I often thought people in the past, though fewer and less comfortable, were healthier than we are now. As for religion, I never believed in a future life of happiness for the suffering. It didn't make sense to me, especially since the rich and powerful often seemed to cause the most harm, yet they thrived. I disliked how success, power, and wealth had become the main goals for so many. These things, which some people worshipped, seemed to ruin the world, making it harder for everyone to live. Even helping others didn't feel useful. It only seemed to make things worse in the long run. I was searching for something to believe in. Could a life of enjoying beauty, like Rupert K. Vanis's way of living, really be enough? Could good food, music, art, and pretty gardens keep someone happy and give life meaning? Magnolia Gardens in Charleston, South Carolina, is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. The flowers, trees, and dreamy water make it feel like a magical paradise. I went there often and spent hours just looking at its beauty. I wanted to paint it, but it felt impossible to capture such a perfect scene. One afternoon, as I sat by a clump of azaleas, I saw an old gardener working. He was so old that people said he had once been a slave. Suddenly, I heard Rupert K. Vanis talking nearby. "Beauty is everything to me, Miss Monroy," he said. She replied, "Beauty is a big word. What does it mean to you?" Vanis said, "It's what I see in front of me." She laughed. "That's not an answer. Is beauty about the body or the soul?" "I don't believe in the soul. I'm a pagan," Vanis answered. "So am I," she said. "But even the Greeks, who were pagans, believed in the soul." Vanis replied, "To me, the soul is just the finer side of what we feel." "Maybe," she said thoughtfully. Vanis ended with, "I've spent my life trying to figure that out. Are you saying the feeling this garden gives me is only about the senses?" Sabine asked. Yes, Vanis replied. If you couldn't see, hear, smell, or touch, where would your feelings come from? You're very discouraging, Mr. Vanis. No, I just face facts. When I was young, I had dreamy hopes and even wrote poetry. Really? Was your poetry good? She asked. It was not, Vanis said. I quickly learned that real feelings and experiences are worth more than all those dreams. What will you do when your senses stop working? I'll sit in the sun and fade away. I like your honesty, Sabine said. You probably think I'm a cynic, Vanis replied. But I'm not. Cynics are just people pretending to be clever. I don't feel proud of my views. Life is just what it is. What if you had been poor? Sabine asked. My senses would probably last longer because I wouldn't overuse them. And when they failed, I'd die faster from hunger or cold. Have you ever been in love, Mr. Vanis? I am in love now, he said. And your love has no deeper feelings. No devotion? None. It's about wanting. I've never been in love, Sabine said. But if I were, I think I'd want to lose myself in it rather than just want someone else. Would you? Sabine, I'm in love with you, Vanis said. Oh, shall we keep walking? She said lightly. I heard their footsteps fade away, leaving me alone with the old gardener trimming the bushes. What a perfect example of Vanis's philosophy of life. It was so simple and clear, focused only on pleasure. It felt ancient, almost like something from the time of kings. Just then, the old gardener came over. It's nice sitting here, the old gardener said softly. No flies yet. It's perfect, Richard, I replied. This is the most beautiful place in the world. It surely is, he said, with a slow drawl. In the war, the Yankees nearly burned the house here, Sherman's soldiers. They were angry because Old Master hid the silver before leaving. My father worked here then. The Yankees caught him and asked where the silver was. My father looked at them and said, Do you think I'm a sneaky man? No, sir. Do whatever you want. But I won't tell. The Yankee officer got mad and lined him up against that big tree over there. They shot bullets all around him to scare him. But my father stood strong. I was a little boy then, and I saw it all with my own eyes. No, sir, they didn't get anything from him. He loved the people here. The old man smiled proudly, showing how much he admired his father. That's a brave story. Richard, I said, but wasn't your father a bit stubborn? The old man looked at me with surprise, then slowly grinned and laughed. Yes, sir, very stubborn indeed. He chuckled as he walked away. Just then, I heard Miss Monroy's voice behind the azaleas. Your idea of life is all about fun and pleasure. Can you live up to it? Let me try, Vanis replied eagerly. She laughed. A sweet, teasing laugh. All right, then. Catch me. I heard the rustle of her dress as she ran, followed by Vanis's heavy footsteps crashing through the path. I hoped they wouldn't run past and find me sitting there. There were distant laughs, hurried breaths, and even a muttered curse. Then Vanis appeared, staggering and exhausted. He was sweating, holding his side, and breathing hard, a picture of defeat. Without a word, he turned and walked away. I didn't know how Vanis and Miss Monroy got back to Charleston, but I doubted they traveled together. That evening, Vaness skipped dinner, but Miss Monroy was there, looking as lively and radiant as ever. She wore a black dress with a red flower in her hair and another at her chest. She seemed full of life, as if the game of chase had only energized her. Later, I walked to the Battery and sat by a statue. The night was beautiful. The air carried a sweet fragrance, and the sky was a deep, thrilling blue. It was a perfect evening for someone who loved beauty and pleasure. As I sat there, I thought of Vaness. His fine, polished look broken by exhaustion and frustration, and the old gardener's father, standing strong and fearless against the bullets. Two very different beliefs. One about enjoying life's pleasures, and the other about love and loyalty, even unto death. I wondered who truly wins in the end. Just then, I saw Vaness under a street lamp, smoking a cigar. His pale face looked bitter in the harsh white light, and I felt sorry for him. For all his charm and wealth, Rupert K. Vaness seemed defeated in a way I couldn't fully understand.